up, squad? Today we're going to talk about dividing polynomials. There's another video that we watched with add, subtract, multiplying. This is the next part, part 2. This is dividing. So there's two ways of dividing. There is long division and there's synthetic division. Synthetic division is easier to use, but you can only use synthetic if you're dividing by a factor. So in other words, kind of like x minus a or x plus a. It's a binomial and it's linear. Then we can actually use synthetic always. You can also use long division like the title states. It's a little longer to do. Synthetic's a lot quicker. You will see that today. So how do we do long division? Well, let's say I have some polynomial function like x4 minus x cubed minus 2x squared plus x minus 1, and dividing that by x squared plus x plus 1. Alright, so it's long, right? So we're actually going to do long division like how you normally would do when you have numbers. So you have x squared plus x plus 1. The first thing you have to remember with long division synthetic is if you're missing an exponent, then you have to supplement it by putting a 0 somewhere in there. So for example, if I'm missing this x cubed and we go x fourth minus 2x squared, then I need to put in a 0x cubed in there or it won't match up, it won't line up when you actually do the long division. Same thing here. So we look at this guy, we look at that guy, and we have to tell ourselves, what do you have to multiply x squared to get x to the fourth? So then we say it's x squared. So then what happens? You multiply this and you put it here. So then when you distribute, you get x to the fourth, you get plus x cubed, and you get plus x squared. You see it's all lined up. When you subtract the whole thing. That's the hard part that kids struggle with because you're subtracting the whole thing. So this cancels, this becomes negative, that becomes negative. So negative 2x cubed minus 3x squared, and you're going to drop the x. That's the hard part, just switching the negatives. We're going to do this again. X squared and then negative 2x cubed. What do you have to multiply x squared to get negative 2x squared? Or 2x cubed. So you need a negative 2x. I have the x squared. I need a negative 2. I also need one more x. So if we distribute that, you have negative 2x squared cubed minus 2x squared minus 2x. But what do we do again? We're going to subtract the whole thing again. So this becomes positive, that becomes positive, that becomes positive. That cancels. You have negative 1x squared plus 3x, and we're going to drop this negative 1 now. We're going to have to do it one more time. So we have to multiply 1x squared to get negative 1x squared minus 1. So if you do that, I'm going to write it here. If we distribute the negative 1, you get negative x squared minus x minus 1. You're actually going to switch the signs. That becomes plus, plus, plus. That cancels. You get 4x there, and that cancels. So what this guy becomes is your remainder. And sometimes when we do division, there's always a remainder. So what happens is you have to add the remainder divided by all this here. The values we multiplied. So x squared plus x plus 1. So this is actually my answer. So as you can tell, long division does take a while. We do need to practice. Just do it slowly. Take your time. Be careful with the minuses, subtracting. That's where the kids actually have the hardest time with. All right. With synthetic, a lot quicker. You know, we could always use synthetic. We can only use it if you're factoring x minus a. So for example, let's say we do 4x cubed minus 3x squared plus x minus 1. You're dividing by x plus 4. All right, we're dividing by a factor, x plus 4. So when we do synthetic, all we care about is the values in front, the coefficients in front. So we drop the 4, the negative 3, the 1, negative 1. I got those guys from here. Here is going to be, if this is a factor, then what is my x-intercept? We're going to say it's negative 4. So it's usually the opposite, but try to set x plus 4 equal to 0 and then solve for x. So then what happens, you drop the 4, you always start with that, you multiply and you add here, so you negative 16, so you get negative 19, you multiply 19 times 4, 36, 76, so it becomes positive 76, Since those are positive, you get 77. And we times 77 by 4, 28, 30, 308. So negative 308, and then you get negative 309. That's what's left over, which means that is my remainder. So what's left over is this guy. This is the guy that's actually on top of the long division. All you have to do is, I have to go backwards. Start with a 0 variable exponent, and then add a 1 to it, and then add a 2. And you keep adding backwards. So your answer is actually this. That's my remainder, so minus 309 all over x plus 4. So this is my answer. So you can tell synthetic's a lot quicker, even though I had to do the multiplication by hand. That was a lot faster than your long division worrying about the exponents. So if it's always a factor of x minus a, always use synthetic's a lot quicker. Everything else, if it's a trinomial, or if it's another binomial which is not in the x minus a form, then you have to use long. So you do need to know both cases. So that concludes our lesson with dividing polynomial functions. We're going to get ready for those 3 problems, your basic, your intermediate, and your advanced problem. Good job. All right, your first problem. Let's take 2x squared. We do the same problem actually twice. 2x cubed plus 4x squared minus x plus 1, and we divide that by x plus 1. So I know we can use synthetic. We're actually going to do it both. We're going to see that actually gets you the same answer today. So your basic problem, let's start with synthetic. I want you to do synthetic first. So try your best, 30 seconds, go. All right, let's take a look. So we have synthetic, you drop your values down. We aren't missing any variables. So we have that. Remember, it's not 1, this is my factor, so what's my x-intercept would be negative 1. We'll talk about why I keep saying x-intercept later on. And then we drop the 2. Multiply, add, multiply. This should have been negative 1, sorry. You get negative 3, multiply, you get positive 3, so you get 4. That's my remainder. What's left over is, let's go backwards. We get that. So you have 2x squared plus 2x minus 3 with the remainder of 4 over that. So this is my answer. So take a look, make sure you got your numbers, make sure you're multiplying and adding them correctly, make sure you add the remainder at the end. Your intermediate problem, I want you to do this problem, but I want you to use long division. You can use your problem from basic to test, to check your answer to make sure you did it correctly. So about 30 seconds to a minute, go. All right, let's take a look. So long division, you know it's tedious, you gotta learn it. X plus 1 here. Let's do this slowly together. What do you have to multiply x to get 2x cubed? What's missing? What else do I need? I need the 2. I have an x, I need 2 more x's, so it's 2x squared. I'm going to distribute that. So you have 2x cubed plus 2x squared. And then what do we have to do? Subtract the whole thing. That cancels. This becomes negative, so you have 2x squared. Drop the x. Now what? Do the same thing all over again. What? You have to multiply x to get 2x squared. I still need a 2. I need another x. So you have 2x. Distribute that. So you have 2x squared plus 2x. But same pattern, right? We're going to subtract it again. So that becomes negative. That cancels. That becomes negative. So you have 3x plus 1. Last one, what do you have to multiply x to get negative 3x? We just need a minus 3. So then when you distribute that, you get negative 3x minus 3. Negative, that cancels out. This becomes positive, so you get 4. 4 is my remainder, so we get that divided by that. So check your answer. It's actually the same exact thing as we did this when we did synthetic from the basics. So they both give you the same answer, but however, we can use long and synthetic because we're dividing by that guy, by that factor of x plus 1 or x plus 2 or whatever. All right, good job. Last problem, I want you to take 6x cubed minus 31x squared plus 22x plus 24. I want you to divide it by x minus 4. I want you to use synthetic. Try your best. This is our last problem. Don't give up. Go. All right, let's take a look. Synthetic. What goes here now? Gets 4, not negative 4. Drop these guys. big numbers, and we're not missing any value, right? We go from 3, 2, 1, 0. So you drop the 6, multiply, you get 24. What happens if we do that? We get 7, negative 7. Multiply that, you get negative 28. Then you get 6, negative 6. Multiply that, you get negative 24. And then we get 0 here. So we actually got a remainder of 0. So what's left over? We get that. So we have 6x squared minus 7x minus 6. This is going to be a very important component when we actually start to find x-intercepts. This guy will actually represents x. This guy actually represents y. So this point is actually 4, 0 on this function. But if my y value is 0, what are we finding? What does it represent on the graph? Good. This is actually your x-intercept. We can actually factor this. We're going to talk about factoring this. If we get 0 here, that means 4 is an x-intercept, which means what? X minus 4 is what? A factor. So then this is actually a factor. So we broke this problem up into 2 pieces. And now this is quadratic, so we can actually just factor by hand or do quadratic formula. There's lots of ways, lots of methods to solve this guy. But this is our ultimate goal. Our goal is to use synthetic to get 0 as a remainder. That means that this would be an x-intercept, which means that will be a factor. All right. Usually we go the other way, right? We find the factors and then you set equal to 0 and find your x-intercepts. So then we actually find our factors. All right, so we'll talk more about that in our next video. So that concludes our lesson with dividing polynomials. Please subscribe to my channel, turn on notifications, and let's get ready for some more math videos.